Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today, our video comes after I was watching a movie about, well, it was a Halloween movie, and the people in the movie happened to have like a seance type thing. And I was having a discussion with my amazing boyfriend, and I shared that I had actually been to visit a psychic medium before. And that got me thinking that perhaps I should do a video on what that experience was like. Because many people have never been to a psychic medium, or maybe they have been curious, but because of their beliefs or their situation, they haven't. So today's video is going to give you a little insight into what it's like when you go visit a medium. Okay? So in the spiritual realm, there's a bunch of different people who can be viewed as like go-betweens. Okay? So there's a medium, and that's the person that I went to. She was able to see pictures and images and hear different things from people who have passed on to essentially bring insight to what I was currently going through. Okay, there are also psychics who they interact more on the realm of the people who are deceased, and in the spirit world they call that, and they share those insights. That's typically things that you may or may not be looking for. There are also like seances where you can have like candles or different things to bring energy in and try to invoke something to happen. Okay, there are also like the Ouija boards and fortune tellers and crystal balls and stuff like that. That is something I've not encountered, but typically those are situations where they're using an object as the interface between the spiritual world and the living world to share something. Okay. Now, some people believe that psychics and mediums are really just evil things, and dabbling with them is just inviting bad things to happen. Some people are just curious and take it for what it's worth. And whatever they say, they say. And it's not necessarily going to change what you do in your life. And there are also people who take whatever they say truly to heart, and if they say look out for this, they will avoid everything possible, and their life will change because of what that one person said. Now, me myself, I was intrigued by the idea of going to a medium when I was born, or when we were growing up, I should say. My mom shared that after each of my siblings and I were born, she went to a psychic, and the psychic said different things about each of us. And so my mom would never tell us what any of it was, but it was always just this inquisitive thing, like, okay, so what did they say? Like, did it come true? Did it not come true? And my mom didn't tell us. When I got to be about, oh goodness, probably 20, 25, somewhere in there, she did share some things because the time frames that the psychic had given her had passed. So my mom was very protective in sharing this information because she never wanted one person's view of what is going on or what could be going on to change or alter what could be. And I appreciated that. I thought that was very, very wise. So I had the opportunity. An aunt of mine happened to have a good friendship with a medium that lived in our state, and the medium was coming to my aunt's house, and she was offering, she did a couple of group settings where you have a bunch of people, and the one medium was like kind of reading the room, if you want to call it that. And then she offered individual settings where it would just be you and the medium. And I was intrigued, but quite honestly, I was scared because I'm scared of a lot of things. I was scared to go into a group setting because, well, what if they said something about me that I didn't want everybody to know? And I was also nervous about, okay, so if I go in a one-on-one situation, what if there's nobody that wants to talk to me and I'm just wasting money? Or what if I hear bad information? And I was essentially in my own head. Shocker, right? So I got over myself. I scheduled a one-on-one session, and I don't remember if the first time was a half an hour or an hour, but basically what happened was it was this separate room in my aunt's house, and there were just two chairs, and they were facing each other, very comfortable, very relaxed. And then there was some like background ambient music, just that everybody in the whole house didn't hear exactly what you were saying. But that was about it. Okay. So I walk into the room where the medium was, and she had me sit in a chair, and I sat in one chair, and she sat in the other chair. And she always started, I went to this medium for a couple of times. So she typically has a procedure that she goes through. She wanted to learn a little bit about me, just a little bit about what brought me there today. Were there any questions that I was seeking answers for? And typically I didn't have any questions or things I wanted answers. She also asked if there were certain parts of my life that I wanted questions or directions on. So if you wanted answers regarding your career, or if you wanted answers regarding romantic interests or things like that, she would try to guide spirits accordingly to help get that answered for you. Typically, I went in with just an open mind, and I was taking whatever she said as this is what she said, and it may or may not be true. So I would sit in the chair, and she would typically close her eyes and breathe a little bit. And she always said that whatever she was asking the spirits for, she only wanted good things, no negative things. If something came out that was negative, she wanted the only thing to negatively come out was if it was going to help me in some regard. Does that make sense? So if the spirit would say something that I deemed as negative, there was a better reason than to make me feel like a bad person. There was something to be learned or grown from there. So she shared different things. She shared about the idea of spirit guides and how there are souls that kind of watch and protect over you, and how at different points in your life, the number of guides change and they have different reasoning. Sometimes they're connected to you, like from past experiences, past relationships. Sometimes they're not. It's just who has connections, who you need surrounding you at that time. And I remember that I had a couple of spirit guides, but I didn't know any of them. And I thought it was rather weird. So she gave me some different ideas and examples. She would tell me about different paths that the spirit realm is looking for me to take as far as my career path, and they would give different suggestions as to how I needed to grow as a person. So how I needed to develop more self-confidence, or whatever the case may be. Different things that I needed to work on so that I could be a more happy, well-rounded person. And she talked about love lives and stuff like that. And she didn't ask a whole ton of questions. She basically just gave ideas. I remember we were talking the first time I met with her, I wasn't seeing anyone. And she was talking about romantic interests and what type of person I was attracted to. And she's like, I keep on seeing this figure, and it has kind of like Mongolian attributes about them. And she just point blankly said, are you attracted to people of that? And I'm like, not particularly. And I literally laughed because it was so out of the blue, and it was ironic. So I always walked away from each of those visits with just an added awareness. It was interesting to hear different people's points of view. Each time that I did go to the psychic, I did have, or each time I went to the medium, I should call her, a past relative, a relative that had passed, that I did not have a very strong relationship with, continued to come up. And both times that I went to this medium, we had to shut that person down because we didn't need to entertain that energy. They were very self-righteous and focused on, well, I did wrong and I should just get over myself. And no, just not what you need. But it was a very interesting experience for me. I enjoyed talking to, typically my mom and at least one of my sisters would go around the same time. So we would chit chat afterwards and share like different aspects of what was talked about, just as a frame of reference. And it was interesting and I enjoyed it. Just hearing another person's ideas, knowing that what they say, what they see isn't necessarily guaranteed to be the future. It was just one person's idea. And that was intriguing to me. I think it is very important, if you choose to go to a medium or a psychic or whatever, I want you to be very aware of not being led in any certain way and take whatever they say at face value, knowing that based on what they say is what you are in that moment. If you turn left instead of right at the stop sign on your way home, your whole reading could have changed. Your whole experience could change based on who you interact with each day and how you interact with them and what you say or don't say, your actions, your inactions, all of those different things play a part in it. Am I opposed to going to a medium? No, if that's what you are intrigued by. But I wouldn't give the power of your life, of your happiness, to a medium. I would equate going to a medium essentially to being like reading your horoscope. If you want to read your horoscope, go ahead. Just because the horoscope says you're going to have tragedy today doesn't mean that everyone in your life is going to die, for example. Your tragedy could be something completely different. What someone says, what someone interprets, may change by your very actions. I enjoyed going to the medium. I think it was very enlightening. I think it was fun. It's nice to hear people's ideas for the future, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. It's something new, something exciting, something I would do again if I felt so called to. But that's just my experience. If you choose to go to a medium or a psychic, or if you choose not to, that's your choice. I hope you learned something today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.